I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not here with me, no. We're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all, we should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back, starting from scratch. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not, because I still believe. You're my gravity. You will never be what I expected. Different frequencies, that's why we ain't connected. You know I will make it through, I got nothing to lose but you. It's true you're so far away, and it's true I can feel the same. It's another day, you know you want me to stay, but I go my way. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not, because I still believe. You're my gravity. You're my gravity. You're calling out my name, but the echo numbs your pain. Sorry, but more than just a shadow, I'm more than just a man. You don't care how I feel, you don't know how I feel. No, you don't know how. I wash away the sorrow till my heart can beat again. You're my gravity. No, you're my gravity. I will let you go, the only thing that I know. You were my gravity, but now I have to leave. I will let you go. Why do you feel that I want? What do you think that I want? I know how to breathe into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity, into my gravity. I know it's hard, I know it's complicated, but I promised you I've been waiting here forever. I had a much to say, but you're not here with me, no. We're invincible, like fire in the snow. Trust me when I say you are my beautiful world, and I'm feeling it all, we should make an effort. It's true you're so far away, and it's true you don't feel the same. But if you take my hand, we can try and go back, starting from scratch. I won't let you go, no I can't let you go, 'cause you're my gravity, and I will never leave. I won't let you go, no baby I will not.
Warning: the Duracell Cup Series data file you have attempted to access is out of date. Uploading current file now.
It's a brand new car from stem to stern, and it's never been raced at these speeds.
The next gen car is opportunity.
Everything is different with the exception of like the seat, the steering wheel, and your helmet.
Unknown creates excitement.
Talking about my generation.
Good afternoon, race fans, and welcome here to NNSCRA TV's coverage of race 19 of Season 7 of the NNSCRA Duracell Next Gen Cup Series, as we are here at the Magic Mile, New Hampshire Motor Speedway, and the drivers here today, 42 of them, hoping that a little magic will come their way as we are drawing ever closer to the end of the regular season, including today only 8 more venues until we determine the 16 drivers, 10 via top 10 in points, 6 wild card spots that will battle for this season's championship in the postseason, the 10 race playoff system. James Qualls, what a season he has been having. Of course, was been consistent up in the first half of the regular season, finds victory lane at Dover, follows it up with yet another victory the following week at Iowa, comes into this race as a 2-time winner and captures his first pole of the season in preparation for today's 75-lap event. James Qualls just continuing to make the case for himself as someone you got to be looking at to not only make the playoffs, but maybe win this entire championship. Obviously, a lot of season left to go, but the momentum is definitely in the camp of this driver out of Joanne Atwood Motorsports. Alongside of him, another great qualifying effort for Benjamin Miles. Now, Benjamin's qualifying results have been really good the last few weeks. Unfortunately for him, his finishing results have not replicated the good starting track position that he has had. He's been involved in wrecks when he's been running up inside of the top 10. He qualified well last week and faded all the way back to outside of the top 20, never made his way back up to the front. Hopefully today is a change where he will actually finish up towards the front where he qualified. Benjamin Miles, he comes into this race 35th in the point standings as well, only 2 top 10s on the season. So if somebody is going to have to get a season turned around to be able to get into playoff contention, in the case of Benjamin Miles, today may be that day. We've seen this racetrack bring about a driver getting their first win of the season, and in a couple of cases, getting the first win of their career. Levi McIntyre, Patrick Smith, a couple of drivers who got their first career checkered flags right here at this venue. It's a home track for one of our 4 defending winners of this race, or former winners, I should say, not defending winners. Austin LaPlante. Hometown track for him as well, as he will be on the inside of row number 2. LaPlante took the very first checkered flag here at this racetrack back in Season 1. LaPlante coming into this race 4th in overall points as well, 36 points out of the points lead. We saw with a victory last week, Jesse Turner put his name into the conversation this week for the overall points lead. LaPlante with a victory here today, which would be the first of the season for him. He could do the same thing and be the first 2-time winner here at this racetrack. And alongside him is going to be Matt Haas. He's the highest starting of the Toyota Camrys today. Matt Haas, obviously, we've documented the difference of last season to this season. Last season up there in the conversation for the regular season championship. This season just trying to get into the top 30 in points. He's 37th in the standings coming to this one, looking for what would be only his second top 10 finish this year. Let's take a look at your playoff standings coming into this one. Not a whole lot changed in terms of the drivers that are inside the top 10, though we do have one new appearance. Reese Banks dropped out. Mitchell Collins moved up 3 spots to claim the 10th position in the standings coming into this weekend's race. So Collins right now would be in a playoff position. He's been on a good momentum streak as of late as well. I believe he's had 3 straight top 10 or top 15 finishes. He's gained about 13 spots in the point standings in the last 3 weeks. So definitely the 33 team is on a tear. You could obviously see with the changes that took place up at the top of the point standings, Rob Evans now the new points leader. Jesse Turner moved up to second with his win, and Casey Hoyt drops down to the 3rd seed of the top 10 in points. A little shuffling back and forth between LaPlante and Qualls. They exchanged 4th and 5th. Levi McIntyre moved up 2 spots with a great run last week to 7th. But then you take a look at the wild card drivers, and this is where it kind of gets interesting because Jessica Shelton, she now moves up to the 1 seed as she passed Connor Breton in the overall standings last week. Shelton is 24th in points. Connor Breton is 29th in points. So he's right there on the cut line, 7 points ahead of 30th in the standings. So he needs a good run today. I feel like we keep saying this, that Breton, 1 week, he's got a nice cushion, and then the following week he needs points. Breton is on the needs points side again here this week. One name that is notably missing there, another of our 2-time winners, and that's Matthew Rodriguez. He failed to qualify for the show last week at Chicago Motor Speedway. Subsequently, he dropped 4 spots in the standings. He is currently a total of 28 points below the cut line. He is in the field here today since he and Kyler Sustre were the only 2 non-charter drivers to attempt to qualify this weekend, but he is going to need a lot of help to get back into the top 30 for his 2 wins to count towards a wild card spot. Caleb Fogler, Dylan Young, Zachary Fitzwater, they're in pretty good shape. All of them are inside the top 20 in the point standings with their 1 win each, but Kyler Sustre, he comes in the cut line driver, 30th in the point standings, and he right now holds that final playoff position. So if another driver goes to victory lane that's outside the top 10 in overall standings, but inside the top 30 at the conclusion of today, more than likely, if Kyler Sustre isn't able to get up there and maybe bypass Zachary Fitzwater in the point standings, which that's about 36 point separation, Kyler Sustre could be on the outside looking in of the playoffs heading to next week. And if he drops out of the top 30 in points, then he's definitely currently out of the playoff position, and it would either go to another one-time winner that I just was talking about, a new winner that's outside the top 10, or maybe a driver that's the highest up in the point standings without a victory outside of the top 10 could move into the 16th and final spot heading into next week. But we'll have to see how it all shakes out. We're ready to go trackside and get those most famous words in motorsports here today in New Hampshire.
Drivers, start your engines!
Just like when we talked about the transporter. At the end of pit road, the last pit box is a timing line. So the last white line on pit exit is the line. Big thumbs up, my friend. Have a good time.
Take a look here at your starting lineup. We've had 6 different winners here at New Hampshire, 4 of them in the field today, all starting inside of the top 12. Austin LaPlante rolling off in 3rd, Levi McIntyre and Ryan Butcher back there in row 4, and Keith Batson rolling off on the outside of row 6. The other 2 previous winners were Jordan Lopez and Patrick Smith. Auto Junction Racing has 2 victories here at this racetrack, with the 77 and the 78 both fielded out of that Toyota organization. 75 laps of racing here today. It's been all about the low bank tracks last couple of weeks. Iowa 2 weeks ago, Chicago Motor Speedway last week, and New Hampshire this week, as James Qualls will get us underway here in the northeastern United States. James Qualls is going to lead the first lap of the day. Austin LaPlante moved into 2nd, right behind him. Benjamin Miles continuing to try and fight his way down to the inside line as he'll lose 3rd place to Dylan Young. Michael Norman trying to clear for the 4th spot. Outside line will start to come in this race, I do believe, but not here in the early going. The shorter way around the racetrack is the faster way around the racetrack. And that's on that inside line is LaPlante starting to close up a little bit there on James Qualls. These two drivers last week did a little do-si-do for the 4th position in overall standings. LaPlante moving up to 4th, Qualls falling to 5th. Both of them been super consistent this year. They've been really good in their qualifying efforts as well. Up in the top 5 in points and hoping that they stay up there to be able to lock themselves up spots for this championship. Of course, for Qualls with 2 victories, if he fell outside the top 10, he would certainly be up in one of the first couple of seeds for a wild card position. LaPlante still looking for that first checkered flag of season 7, and he is there on the back bumper of Qualls. He's going to make the move down here into 3 and 4. Dylan Young closing up on here as well. Going to make it a 3-man fight for the top position. Michael Norman looking on in 4th. Ryan Butcher, another former winner here from New Hampshire, currently in the 5th position. As we've got a driver already back behind the wall. You guys will have probably already seen it via the NNSCRA split cam, but Cole Deaver, engine failure here in the first 5 laps, and that is going to be a DNF in 42nd for him. Tough break for that driver. 28th in points coming into this race, still searching for his first top 5. And he's not even going to make it to 10 laps into this race. Bit of an accordion effect right there as LaPlante checks up for Qualls in front of him. Dylan Young will now look to make the move for the runner-up spot on LaPlante. Got to kind of get about half a car length ahead of the driver you're trying to pass down one of the straightaways to be able to complete the pass in the following corner, because you can see right there, LaPlante got a nice run there on the top side off of 4, carried that straightaway speed to pull back even with Dylan Young. Probably be able to do it again here as Young about half a car length advantage off of 2. Look at LaPlante battle back on the top side. And he and Dylan Young will take this battle side by side again into 3. Dylan going to mash the throttle there, try and see if he can clear up on LaPlante. He's almost clear. Not quite going to be able to do it, but now with Michael Norman behind him, maybe that little bit of added push down the straightaway will help him complete the pass down here into 1. Now he's clear. Dylan Young will complete the pass, and the 2 car will move into P2. LaPlante looks to hold off Michael Norman for the 3rd spot. And Ryan Butcher joins this group here as well, so pretty nose to tail here for our entire top 5. Benjamin Miles did find a way down to the inside line. He slots back into 6th after starting on the outside of the front row. Matt Haas right behind him in 7th, and there is Mitchell Collins again. Another solid day for the 33 team. Mitchell Collins has his whole career been a Ford driver, started out driving for Young Motorsports and then made the jump over to Michael Norman Motorsports. Dustin Bolin right there looking to his inside though. That's for the 8th position. Dustin Bolin 6th in overall standings. I mean, the last couple of weeks, the trend has been a driver up inside the top 10 in overall standings going to victory lane, with James Qualls 2 and 3 weeks ago, and then last week, Jesse Turner. So you look at some of the drivers up there, like Rob Evans and Austin LaPlante, Dustin Bolin, Mitchell Collins. They've got a 0 in the win column. They'd love to fill that in here today. LaPlante back for 2nd place on Dylan Young. LaPlante just ran his fastest lap of the race right there, 11 laps in. That's pretty impressive, especially with the fact that he's kind of there in traffic with a car ahead of him, having to adhere to their braking zone. Not going to be able to complete the pass this time on Dylan Young. I think Young has him cleared, but LaPlante stays low. Dylan Young was going to try and chop down in front of him, thought better of it. They probably would have made contact if he had. Now Young's going to clear for the spot. Let's drop back here to this group because Mitchell Collins and Dustin Bolin, Casey Hoyt continue to mix it up. They were almost 3 wide back there through 1 and 2 that last time by. But now settle it back down to single file. Chris Dollerton and Jose Mills, couple of teammates right there. Out of the Blue Oval Automotive stables. Dollerton coming off a great run last week and an even better run at Iowa. He's moved his way steadily up in the point standings to 18th. Jose Mills also slowly climbing up in the point standings. Gained 2 spots last week up to 16th. I mentioned this in qualifying. All 3 of the Blue Oval Automotive cars are all up inside the top 20 in the points. Caleb Fogler, the highest of them, in 12th overall, which right now has him in, I believe it is the 3 seed, if I remember correctly, in the current playoff standings. 3 seed of the wild card spots, I should say, right there. I don't know if I clarified that or not. Lead change, potentially. Dylan Young makes the move on Qualls. He was able to complete the pass on Austin LaPlante, but it took him a couple of laps to do so. Let's see what he can do with the Castrol GTX Chevrolet. Has to tuck back in line. Not able to get enough momentum there off of turn 4 down the front straightaway. We've seen in the last couple of weeks, pit road has definitely come into play into shaping up these races, especially with a number of the tracks that we've been at, like Dover and Iowa, tracks that have had a lot of tire fall off the longer the run goes on. Well, right now, nearing about 20 laps into this one, and a lot of your race leaders are running anywhere from roughly about 2 to 3 tenths slower than their fastest lap. Matter of fact, James Qualls just ran his fastest lap of the race right there, 29.249. LaPlante wasn't that far off of his fastest lap, only by about maybe a tenth, maybe 700ths at the most. It's almost like the lap times are picking up a little bit here, which is surprising. New Hampshire, with its low banking here, usually very abrasive on the tires. Usually we see a massive decrease in speed when we get around this portion of a run, but if we're not seeing that much tire fall off, it might make things interesting in terms of drivers and their strategy of the undercut. We also don't know what the fuel window is for these drivers. We're looking at a one-stopper if they can make it somewhere around lap 38 to 42. Anytime before that, potentially looking at a two-stopper. And the top 5 have broken away. I mean, the field's completely spread out into like little packs right now. Top 5 have pulled away. You've then got another group of 5 from 6th place back to 10th place. Matt Haas back to Mitchell Collins. Then you got this little duo here of Chris Dollerton and Jose Mills. Ryan Brommer kind of by himself here in the 13th position with Jessica Shelton. Quentin Moore there in the 15th position. I mean, the field is really, really spread out. And then you got a pack of cars from 18th place on back. Correction, 16th on back with Reggie Fogelman and company. Not sure how the field got this split up. I don't think it had anything to do with the engine failure of Cole Deaver. But then again, maybe it did. I don't know. Levi McIntyre had a good qualifying effort, but he is faded all the way back here into the latter portion of the top 20. Same can be said for Keith Batson, who was 12th on the start, and he's back here in 21st. Looks like a lot of these drivers back here are just kind of all wadded up with nowhere to be able to go. We'll move back up to the front as Dylan Young, Austin LaPlante continue to duke it out for second place. LaPlante had the spot. Dylan Young going to take it back. Michael Norman now putting the pressure on the Lowe's Chevrolet. And Ryan Butcher right there in the 78. 2 former New Hampshire winners up here inside of your top 5. Now we're starting to see the fall off. Passing the 20-lap mark, and about 4 of these 5 drivers just ran 4 tenths slower than their fastest lap. So now we're starting to see the tire wear. Dylan Young with a nice run there through the center of 1 and 2. Thought he might be able to make a move here on Qualls, but actually he lost a little bit of ground off the second corner. Qualls was able to open up the distance. Well, how about we ride on board with a former New Hampshire winner? Let's have Austin LaPlante give us the sounds of what it's like maneuvering your way around the Magic Mile. Dylan Young trying the top line here against James Qualls. You saw that move there into 3 and 4. Is that going to work and maybe move the 2 car to the lead? He led that lap according to scoring. And I believe Dylan Young is going to complete the pass here. What a power move there, taking the top line away from Qualls, catching him out, and LaPlante's going to go up there and try and do the same. I mentioned about the fact that that outside line was going to start to come in the longer the run went on. And there you see it, case in point, Dylan Young to the race lead, getting around James Qualls about 25 laps into this race. Also interesting thing I noted there, when we were on board with LaPlante, you saw the rev limiter was topping out as they were approaching turns 1 and 3. I don't know if they're just maybe not, if they got like a different gearing or maybe staying in 3rd gear down here to the corners. Not sure. Remember, the next gen cars have that extra gear. So that might be why we saw the rev limiter there, them not wanting to use the higher gear here. Obviously not very super long straightaways at New Hampshire. That was an impressive move there by Dylan Young. And James Qualls, I don't think had any idea. Destin Bolin has now moved up into the 6th position. He's leading this second group of 5 that is broken up now. Destin Bolin and Matt Haas have been able to kind of pull away. Benjamin Miles back here with Hoyt and Collins, and they've added onto their group. Ryan Brommer managed to get around a number of drivers already. He passed Jose Mills and Chris Dollerton to move up into the 11th spot. And looking for more here on Mitchell Collins, Jessica Schulten also followed Ryan Brommer to bypass Jose Mills. She's now trying to get around Dollerton. That would move her up to 12th position, as Ryan Brommer is going to move up into the top 10, and he's continuing to march forward. Bypasses Collins, now goes to work on Benjamin Miles. Strong race car here for Ryan Brommer, as we've now got 2 of the Auto Junction Racing Toyotas up inside of the top 10. Well, if you remember back to most of our races when the second half of the regular season began, it really came down to whoever had the strongest car on the long run usually ended up winning the race. Qualls had the strongest car on the long run at Dover. He had the strongest car on the long run at Iowa. Last week we saw Jesse Turner had the strongest car on the long run at Chicago. And it looks like here Dylan Young, at least up at the front, has the strongest car on the long run, but I'd watch out for that 12 of Destin Bolin and the 87 of Ryan Brommer. They look pretty speedy here as well the longer we go. And we know as well that depending on when it is, if it is under green, pit stops are going to spread the field out even more, and that is going to put more emphasis on the car's raw speed, not necessarily the ability to use the draft, but just how fast the car is itself the longer the run goes on. Because you're not going to probably have as much benefit of draft as you would have in the early going of this race. So yeah, I'm going to be very curious about seeing where the 87 and the 12 and some of these others that we're seeing make their way up towards the front, where they're going to be when everything shakes out, if we indeed do have those green flag pit stops, which these drivers, as I said, they'd love to be able to do it on one stop, and they would want to get across the lap 38 threshold, probably looking for a target lap of maybe around 40 before they dive onto pit lane. Otherwise, that brings into question drivers being able to make it on just one stop. Well, Dylan Young, he's been kind of in limbo the last couple of weeks. He started out the second half of the regular season up in the playoffs via top 10 in points. He's kind of been hovering between 11th and 15th in the standings, still in a wild card spot with his victory earlier on this year. Right now, 15th in overall points, currently coming into this race in the 4th wild card slot. But if he were to go to victory lane for a second time, if he didn't move up into the top 10 in the point standings, which honestly, mathematically, I don't see why he wouldn't. But if he didn't, he would then jump up for sure up into the #1 wild card seed. Dylan is 23 points. No, I'm sorry, 25 points behind 10th in the standings coming into this one. And he is continuing to grow the gap between himself and James Qualls now, I've noticed. Qualls was on his back bumper for a good portion of the run after Dylan Young bypassed him, but now it's about 0.6 of a second from Dylan Young back to James Qualls, and Austin LaPlante just riding there in that 3rd spot. Ryan Butcher did get around Michael Norman, so he's moved up into 4th, and Norman back to 5th. Ryan Brommer's on the move. He has passed more cars again. He's gotten around Matt Haas, he's gotten around Casey Hoyt, he's up to 7th, and next on his hit list is the 12 of Destin Bolin. The disadvantage for him right now is track position. He's about 7.5 seconds behind the race leader. Otherwise, I think if he was up there in that top 5, he might have something to be able to get around Dylan Young. His lap times are looking really good. That last time by, he ran a 29.8. The leader ran a 29.9. He is, according to scoring, the fastest car on the racetrack right now up here at the front of the field, and he's going to go to work for the 4th position on Destin Bolin, because I think we have our leaders coming in. Yes, we do. Austin LaPlante is in. I think Qualls was in the lap prior. Michael Norman and Dylan Young all coming to pit lane. So James Qualls going with the undercut strategy there. And man, this is right on the halfway point. Literally right on the halfway point. Qualls down and away. More drivers in here on pit road. I believe that the 19 of Carson Gum is going to try and stretch it a little bit further. Might be coming down pit road this time. I'm not sure where Carson qualified. No, Carson's going to stay out an extra lap. Interesting strategy call here, making absolutely certain he gets past the halfway point. Gets himself the bonus point for a lap led. Carson runner-up finish last week at Chicago Motor Speedway. Almost was able to get up there and battle with Jesse Turner for that checkered flag. Got some assistance out of his teammates there, Dylan Poteet and Anthony McCrory, late in that one to close up a 4.5 second gap down to half a second. Carson's coming in this time. He just wanted that lap-led bonus point, but even more importantly, if it's a question mark on whether drivers can make it on fuel or not, that might have put Carson Gum into the conversation of yes, he absolutely can make it. I believe Quentin Moore and Reggie Fogelman also stayed out. So those drivers would probably absolutely be able to make it on fuel. These other drivers, they pitted just before and just on the halfway point, so it'll be interesting to see. But the undercut strategy by James Qualls from 2nd place, look what he was able to gain on Dylan Young. Got around him, he'll cycle back to the lead. And Austin LaPlante is going to cycle up into 2nd. So Dylan Young will go from the lead back to 3rd. Michael Norman was able to pick up a spot against Ryan Butcher to move up to 4th, and Butcher will cycle around into the 5th position. We gotta wait till everything cycles, but I think Ryan Brommer is now gonna move up into the 6th position, and I will be interested to see what happens if he's got clean racetrack, if he can reel in these top 5 now. Yeah, there he is. Matt Haas right there with him as well at 6th and 7th. There you can see the top 5 just about a straightaway ahead of Ryan Brommer. Can he reel them in? Plenty of time to do so. Destin Bolin going to cycle out into the 8th position. 9th place just got exchanged. Casey Hoyt made his way around Jose Mills, and now Mills under fire from his teammate Chris Dollerton for the final spot inside of the top 10. Little drag race between those two to the stripe. Dollerton trying to swing around the outside of Jose Mills here with these fresh tires. Carson Gum's strategy gains him track position, and he's got the freshest tires of anybody up here inside the top 15. He cycles around to 12th place now. RJ Bishop, good run for him here today. He's going to be 13th after the green flag cycle. Benjamin Miles right now at 14th, and Jessica Shelton is going to be in the 15th spot. Now, what about some of our drivers that need points today, namely Connor Breton, Kyler Sustre, Matthew Rodriguez? Where are those drivers all currently running after this pit stop cycle? Highest of them is Kyler Sustre, and he's back here in the 27th position, about to lose that to Matt McIntyre. Matthew Rodriguez is all the way back here in 32nd place, so that is not going to get him back into the top 30 in points. Connor Breton, I believe, might be the last car running right now. Yes, he is, in the 40th position. Actually, he's the last car running on the lead lap. We have a driver 1 lap down. That's Zachary Fitzwater in the 66, who came into this one the 5th wildcard driver, 19th in overall points. Might have had a pit road incident. He did, showing it to you via the NNSCRA split cam, but Zachary Fitzwater right now the only car 1 lap down and 1 driver out of the race. Very early going before we even got 5 laps in. Cole Deaver with a mechanical problem. Engine camshaft is the official wording on that Chevrolet. The only driver that is currently back behind the wall. Boy, this is going to be really interesting because the field is spread out now here too, and we've talked about this during the course of the season, that as the field gets spread out, the original fuel window projection actually decreases. A fuel window that maybe originally was 40 laps can shrink down to 35 because drivers, A, don't have the benefit of draft, and B, they end up having to more than likely adhere to other people's braking zones, so they use up a lot more tire. Now, fuel, I think, is going to be the biggest concern in this one, and I don't know. I'm a little concerned about the 70 car, if I'm perfectly honest, just on the fact that he was one of the first ones to hit pit road, and right now he's out there in clean air showing the way. I would think that would mean a tiny bit more fuel consumption, and he came to pit road, I think it was 1 lap prior to the completion of halfway. Austin LaPlante, Dylan Young, they came to pit road at the completion of halfway. Carson Gum back there, who stayed out a little bit longer, he came to pit road 1 lap completed past halfway. So who's got the fuel to make it? Also, am I just seeing things, or does Dylan Young have some left side damage? Looks like there's some scrapes on that Night Owl there. I don't know if he had a little contact maybe on pit road or not. That could also have played a factor into why he ended up losing the lead on the cycle of pit stops, though I firmly believe that he lost it at least to Qualls, because Qualls had the undercut and had the fresh tires out lap. But yeah, you can definitely see there's some scrapes there on the left side of that Hooters Ford Mustang. Doesn't seem to have affected his speed at all, but he did not get off pit road unscathed, apparently. Ryan Brommer, I thought he was going to be able to get up there and maybe reel in his teammate Ryan Butcher and Michael Norman. But he's lost a spot to Matt Haas and now under fire from Dustin Bolin. Bear in mind, though, Ryan Brommer's car kind of came to life about 20 laps into a run, so we've got about another 10 laps before we would hit that here on this cycle. So maybe it's not time for him to push it. Very impressed with Chris Dollerton here in the 9th position. Dollerton finally starting to put things together, and you know Chris Dollerton thinks back to last year when he ended up winning the Daytona 500 but failed to make it into the playoffs. This season, they've appeared to focus a little bit more on consistency. They've been doing that with all 3 of the Blue Oval Automotive cars. Caleb Fogler's got a victory, but Mills and Dollerton have had very solid seasons up to this point. And Dollerton looking for yet another top 10. Top 3 still single file. You can every now and then, as they make their way off of turn 2, hear the engine up ahead. That is Connor Breton, who is the last car on the lead lap. We saw last week, lap traffic, slower traffic, made things a little dicey in the closing stages at Chicago. Jesse Turner had a huge gap, but had to start dealing with traffic, and Carson Gum was able to close up the gap and make things somewhat interesting in the closing stages. If Qualls gets up here, to the 88 of Connor Breton. That is a teammate to the 48 of Austin LaPlante. So Qualls would end up having Northeast Motorsports in front and behind him that he would have to deal with. So far here today, though, James Qualls has led 37 of the completed 53 laps. Dylan Young has been out in front for 14 laps. And the only other driver that's been out in front, that was in the middle of the green flag pit stop cycle, Carson Gum, for 2 laps. Let's follow the 19, because right now he would projected be the one that could make it the furthest on fuel in these closing stages. He is right now up in the 11th spot. He's obviously got about a lap fresher, maybe 2 laps fresher, depending on who he's battling with tires, to the rest of the competition up inside of the top 10. Carson, after his runner-up finish last week, moved up to 17th in overall points. That was his first top 5 on the season, by the way, also. And right now looking for back-to-back top 10 runs, as he is closing up there on Casey Hoyt, Destin Bolin, who are in a pretty good tussle for 9th place. Chris Dollerton right there as well, as he actually just made his way around both Casey Hoyt and Destin Bolin and looks for more. He'll look to the inside of Ryan Brommer. They've reeled in the 78 of Ryan Butcher, so all these drivers are looking to move into the top 5 now. As Dollerton will complete the pass around Ryan Brommer. Maybe the 83 is the fastest car on the racetrack right now. Here's the 5th place battle between a couple of Camrys, Ryan Butcher and Matt Haas, taking the look to the inside. And Haas looks like he's going to complete the pass relatively easily. And he'll move up into the 5th position. Up at the front still, bumper to bumper to bumper amongst the top 3. LaPlante and Young came to pit road the lap after James Qualls did, so they would probably be at least a lap better on fuel. Caution is out! And this changes it all. They might not have to pit. They could save fuel to maybe make it the rest of the way, but I feel you'd want to come to pit road for tires, right? You'd be a sitting duck if you didn't, and this throws all the fuel strategy out the window for the most part. Drag race to the line there between LaPlante and Dylan Young. Young got LaPlante for that spot, but James Qualls, this might be the caution that saved his race. We were nearing 15 laps to go, and our first yellow flag flies. Didn't see any smoke anywhere in any portion of the racetrack, so I'm not exactly certain what the yellow flag came out for. Oh, there's some skid marks right there in the center of 3 and 4. Pit road's open. Nobody's coming in. I'm pretty sure the pits were open. Wow. They've been out there for nearly 20 laps here on this run. I would have thought the fresh rubber was going to be very important, but they want the track position. Did anybody come to pit lane at all? Nope. Interesting. What was the reasoning for the caution? Let's go find out. It almost looks like with those skid marks that maybe it was just a half spin. Maybe somebody didn't completely go around. Try and see if we can pinpoint who it was. Daniel Voiles potentially in the 26? No? Matt McIntyre in the 21. We'll take this off of turn 2. This was around the 23rd, 24th position. And he's going to run into the right rear of Reggie Fogelman up into the wall. And yeah, that car actually did go completely around. Pretty good shot into the outside wall with the right rear. Pretty good right side damage as well. Able to continue on and actually beat a couple of drivers here back to the start-finish line, which is why I was uncertain of who it was that brought the yellow flag out, since it didn't look like a bunch of drivers way, way, way back. Here's another look at it. I think Matt McIntyre was thinking about shooting up the middle there between Fogelman and Dylan Poteet. Did not work. And Matt McIntyre will have some damage to deal with here for the remainder of this race. Matt McIntyre last week lost a couple of spots in the standings. Comes into this one 33rd in overall points, and it looks like... Oh, never mind. I thought that the 21 had gone back behind the wall, which was going to be very confusing. That did not look like race-ending damage, but nope, he's still out there. As a matter of fact, Matt McIntyre did not come to pit road to get any damage repaired. So that's an interesting call. If for no other reason, I think you'd want to make sure that the right side tires are clear. But nope, he stays out. He'll restart in 34th. Lights out at the top of the Toyota Camry pace car. We're getting ready to go back green. James Qualls out in front, looking for his series-leading 3rd win on the season. Dylan Young right behind him, looking for his 2nd. Austin LaPlante in 3rd, looking for his 1st of the year and 2nd here at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Michael Norman lines up in 4th. Matt Haas was on a bit of a tear there near the end of that run. He's up to 5th. Ryan Butcher's going to be 6th. Chris Dollerton, I think he's got a fast car here in the closing stages. He'll be 7th. Destin Bolin in 8th. Ryan Brommer 9th. And Casey Hoyt completes the top 10. It's looking like right now, unless things drastically change in these final 13 laps, Casey Hoyt will be probably heading into next week as the points leader. We've not mentioned Rob Evans or Jesse Turner at all today. Evans is back in 17th. Jesse Turner is all the way back in 37th, 1 week removed from his first checkered flag of the season. 13 to go here at New Hampshire, and James Qualls gets us back under the green. Fuel will no longer be a concern. Most of these drivers were going to be about maybe 1 to 2 laps short. And under these pacing laps, they would have been able to throw in the clutch, save enough to get to the conclusion. So now it's basically coming down to how strong of a race car do you have, how well did you preserve your tires there prior to that yellow flag just after the pit stops, because they've got about 20 green flag lap cycles on them. And Dylan Young immediately putting the pressure on James Qualls for the race lead. Ooh, thought maybe about using the bumper there. He was very close. Caution's out again. 2nd yellow flag, and maybe the old adage of cautions breeding cautions here. I believe we're racing back here to the yellow flag. Dylan Young tried to get to the inside of James Qualls here through 3 and 4. Couldn't do it. Qualls will hold him off. Ooh, incident off of turn 4 on the front straightaway looks like here. Bringing out the 2nd yellow flag. Now the field got spread out after we ran the first almost 60 laps under green, had the cycle green flag pit stops. Now that everybody is bunched up, they're all fighting tooth and nail for those extra positions. And that's what's leading to these yellows. Matt Haas did manage to pick up a spot there on that restart, as did Chris Dollerton. Carson Gunn moved up into the top 10 on that restart as well. So things getting interesting here in the closing stages as we'll get this upcoming restart with less than 10 to go. If they didn't pit under the previous caution, I don't expect them to come to pit road under this one. The field trying to, on the back straightaway, figure out where they're supposed to be after some of them took the yellow and some of them didn't. And we had ourselves I think 2 wrecks there on the front straightaway. The first one actually starts with the 78 of Ryan Butcher, a former winner here. Oh, teammates got together. But they didn't get together on purpose. They got some assistance. 3 wide off of turn 4, and Destin Boland's going to clip the back of the 78 of Butcher, send him down into Ryan Brommer. And then you're going to see here in a moment, well, I guess it happens further up, Dylan Poteet gets together with somebody. But 2 of the Auto Junction racing cars that were looking like they were going to finish up inside of the top 10, the 78 gets hooked by the 12, and just like that, both of those Toyota Camrys have got damage. Here's another look at it. And Destin Bolin right there, not clear, tucks up behind the 78, but clips into the left rear quarter panel, and boy, that's a tough break there. Both of those drivers now going to be back outside of the top 10. I'm not exactly sure where they're going to restart, but then let's also show you the follow-up wreck. There was something that also happened with the 31 of Dylan Poteet back behind all this. I think it was in reaction to the wreck up ahead. I think he and Laura Chung might make some contact here. Yeah, Chung going to dive to the inside. And she's going to get Poteet right there. She clips him in the left rear quarter panel. Poteet goes up to the wall and then spins down into Laura Chung. And I think that's why we had the big issue of the stack up on the back straightaway of drivers slowing, because some drivers had taken the caution, other drivers were racing back, but it looks like they've gotten it all situated correctly. Looks like after that, Ryan Butcher and Ryan Brommer. Brommer will restart back in 15th, Ryan Butcher back in 17th. It's not the worst positioning for them, but they have damage. They did not come to pit road to fix it, and they were both run up inside the top 10. It's a far cry from the points they were in line to get. So I'm not certain if there's going to be maybe a little discussion between Ryan Butcher and Destin Bolin at the conclusion of this one. As James Qualls more than happy to let it all happen behind him. He'll get ready to put us back under green, which will be with a 7-lap shootout. Dylan Young going to line up in second place. Austin LaPlante third. Matt Haas now up to fourth. Michael Norman in fifth. Dollarton sixth. Bolin seventh. Casey Hoyt in eighth. This is why Carson Gunn was able to move up into the top 10 with the 78 and the 87 being knocked out. He's ninth, and Jose Mills is completion of the top 10. A little bit further back through the field for you. RJ Bishop lines up in 11th. Benjamin Miles in 12th. Jessica Shelton 13th. Rob Evans in 14th. So hold the phone on that points battle. He's right there. He's, 6 positions behind Casey Hoyt right now. So this ain't over yet. 15th place going to be Ryan Brommer, then Zach Rogers, Ryan Butcher, Quentin Moore, Anthony McCurry, and Nathan Ormond are the top 20. Nathan Ormond, great job for him here today. He started shotgun on the field. He's passed half the field so far. Going to have a pretty good points day. Was able to gain track position during the course of this one. All right, 7-lap shootout. James Qualls going to try and hold off Dylan Young, who is putting the pressure on him. Prior to that yellow flag coming out, LaPlante going to look to maybe drive it in on Dylan Young. Look at this. These drivers know this is potentially the final restart of the day. LaPlante's going to step down on Dylan Young for second. Young can't block him. James Qualls loving this, saying, yeah, keep battling for the runner-up spot. I'll run away with this top position. I think Dylan Young's going to hold off LaPlante here, though. Matt Haas going to try the top side against LaPlante for third. Now Dylan Young puts his focus back on Qualls in the 70. It's incredible that 3 weeks ago we were talking about James Qualls snapping his 150-plus winless streak. The following week we talked about James Qualls for the first time in his career being a multi-time winner. And now we might be talking about him as a 3-time winner for the first time in his career. He has opened up a gap of about 3 car lengths back to Dylan Young. Dylan might just be trying to save his stuff to be able to mount a charge, but he does have LaPlante right on his back bumper. Dollarton just got around his former teammate Michael Norman, moved up into the top 5 and 5th. I see Carson Gum working his way up through the field as well. Those drivers probably wish there were another 20-25 laps on the docket so they could have a shot at this thing. Unfortunately for them, time is running out because Qualls crosses the line for 4 laps to go. And Dylan Young has not really closed up the gap yet. Might be just waiting, biding his time to mount a charge. He has opened up a gap between himself and Austin LaPlante. About 2 car lengths, maybe 1.5 car lengths. Qualls over Dylan Young, going through 3 and 4. Oh, Dylan, nice run there through the final 2 corners. Big run here on the front straightaway. Does he make the move into turn 1? 3 laps to go at New Hampshire. Trying to outbrake James Qualls going into 1 and 2. Dylan Young trying to figure out where he wants to make the move. to try and complete the pass. Maybe a little slower there off of turn 2. But it is a mano-a-mano. Austin LaPlante has kind of faded away from this battle. So it is Qualls versus Young, a couple of former winners just looking to continue to add bonus points to their potential playoff berths. Young, a little loose there off of Forrest. I think he was trying to cross to the inside of Qualls, not able to do it this time. 2 laps to go here at the Magic Mile. Austin LaPlante under fire from Matt Haas for 3rd place. Dylan Young loses a little ground there through 1 and 2. He's only going to have one more shot at him here, unless LaPlante's going to spoil the party. LaPlante runs a little low there through 3 and 4. Not going to be able to make the move on Dylan Young. Here we go. White flag in the air. Dylan Young's got to make the move here. He's got to make it now. Anthony McCrory with an unscheduled pit stop here in the closing stages in that Mazda. But we watch the battle for the win. Dylan Young. I don't think he's close enough. He'd have to throw it into turn 3 here, but I don't think he's close enough to make the move. James Qualls just going to hit his marks. Keep one eye out the windshield, one eye on the rearview mirror. I think he's clear. Dylan Young with a nice run out of 4, but it's going to be too little too late. James Qualls, his 3rd win on the season. And it takes place here at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. His 3rd win in 4 weeks. Someone call the fire department because this 70 is on fire, and we had a lot of drivers who couldn't make it on fuel in the closing stages there. Shelton, Mills, Ormond, Sanford, Goss, Lamas, McCrory, all had to hit pit road here, did not save enough fuel under those caution periods, and had to pit with less than 5 to go. But James Qualls is going to bring it home with another victory. He's now the most winningest driver this season. 3 victories on the year. He will continue to make a case for himself for a playoff berth this season. What a career year this has been for one James Qualls, as he was able to hold off a couple of charges there by Dylan Young. He and Dylan Young led all but 2 laps today. And Qualls, who led 59 laps, is going to pick up the checkered flag here, becomes the 7th different winner here at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway, and goes coast to coast, pole to win. But he had his hands full here today with Dylan Young and Austin LaPlante. LaPlante's going to bring it home in the 3rd position. Chris Dollerton, another great run for him, brings home top 5 in 4th. Matt Haas, very strong run for him in the 5th position. Could this be the turnaround point for that driver? Michael Norman up in the top 10 all day long. Solid outing for him. Well-needed points as he'll get 6th. Carson Gum, 1 week removed from his runner-up finish last week. He'll get 7th. Destin Bolin will bring it home in 8th. And remember I said, hold the phone on that points lead battle. Casey Hoyt 9th, but look who finishes right behind him in 10th. Rob Evans. So Evans is going to keep the points lead going into next week at Suzuka. RJ Bishop brings it home in 11th. Benjamin Miles, I talked about him qualifying well, but the finish is not translating how well he qualified. Good job there, finishing in the 12th spot after he was fading back almost outside of the top 15 in the early stages. Quentin Moore brings it home with a good run of 13th. Zach Rogers, he's not getting top 10s, but he's getting top 15s last few weeks. So good consistency for him in 14th. And Laura Chung is going to finish in the 15th position. What might have been for Ryan Brommer and Ryan Butcher. Brommer in 16th, Ryan Butcher in 25th. Mitchell Collins, I'm not certain where he's going to be positioned after all this. After 4 weeks straight of really, really good finishes. A little bit of a Debbie Downer here, 17th place today, but maybe he'll keep him in the top 10 in points. Nick Gunther, Caleb Fogler, and Matthew Rodriguez complete the top 20. Don't think 20th is going to do enough for Matthew Rodriguez to move back into the top 30 in points, but we will have to wait and see, especially with the very interesting qualifying scenario coming up next week at Suzuka. You saw those drivers coming to pit road could not make it the rest of the way on fuel in the closing stages. Jessica Shelton misses out on a great finish today. She'll finish in 32nd. Same for Jose Mills. He ends up finishing 33rd. Nathan Ormond, who was en route for a top 20, finishes in 34th. And all these other drivers couldn't make it. They came to pit road and finished 1 lap down. Charles Sanford, tough break for him. Will Goss, top 10 in points. Connor Breton needed points. He came into this race 7 points ahead of the cut line. Kyler Sustre finished ahead of him. A couple of other drivers did too, like Laura Chung and Daniel Voiles. So Breton could be in trouble here. You got Cody Lamas, who couldn't make it on fuel. Anthony McCrory, Zachary Fitzwater. We documented that he was a lap down for about half of the race after the green flag pit stop cycle. And then Matt McIntyre, he actually came to pit road, repaired a little bit of damage after he brought out the first caution of the day. He finished the lap down in 41st, and Cole Deaver, less than 5 laps into this race, was the first and only retiree out of this event due to a mechanical issue. But James Qualls having a career year, and the year is still young. A 3rd win on the season for James Qualls in 4 weekends. He has been on fire ever since the All-Star break, and he'll look to carry this momentum into next week at Suzuka. The Duracell Ultra Light Series drivers are back for our doubleheader next week, and it should be very interesting if you ended up tuning into our Mid-Ohio weekend with the craziness of the Cup qualifying there due to there being a limited number of spots. We had about 3, 4, 5 chartered drivers that actually missed out on that race. We're going to be seeing pretty much the same type of thing here in this one, but there's going to be some interesting extra races that'll be going on as well. So be sure to join us for all of that. Going to be a lot of fun next weekend when we head to Suzuka East for its debut on the Duracell schedule. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed today's race from New Hampshire. If you did, though, be sure to give this video a like. Subscribe to our crew today. We showed you full finish results, and you're now looking at the point standings as a result of the finishing results here this afternoon in preparation for next week at Suzuka. We are continuing to make one step closer towards the playoffs. Cannot wait to see what we have here down the final of this home stretch. But until next week, I have been Seth Cole, and you've been watching another broadcast courtesy of NNSCRA TV, offline racing at its best.